the Charlotte Hornets select Kobe Bryant from Lower Merion High School.
How's it going, my friends? Welcome back. All right, so, I thought it was something funny that I was reading. So the Webster's Dictionary has all these new words. Every year there's new words, okay? So this year's words, some of them, okay, the word cringe. Now, a new word is either a new word or a completely new definition or of a word, okay? So cringe, so embarrassing, awkward, etc., as to cause one to cringe. All right, what the heck? This used to be a word called cringeworthy. All right, but apparently people would say something like, "Oh, Joe Samo's podcast is so cringe." You guys talk that way to little youngin over here. Joe Samo's podcast is so cringe. Back in the day, you would have to say something like Joe Samo's podcast is so cringeworthy, but they've shortened it to cringe, so that's a new word. Another word, adorkable. Adorkable. Socially awkward or quirky in a way that is endearing. Right? So like some sort of dorky thing, and then you say, "Oh, that's so adorkable, Zeke." Right? And then the funniest one here for me, look, all right, a fashion look that is distinctive to the wearer and that is noticeable and memorable to others. What the heck? So kind of like, oh, she's got the look, but she's got the look. I don't know. So that's what, those are some new words, my friends. I think they're all kind of sus, if you ask me. That is also a new word. Sus, S-U-S, short for suspicious. Okay. All right, cool. So let's talk about Kobe Bean Bryant. Wonderful basketball player, loved by many. He was born in 1978, Kobe Bryant. Now his dad, Joe Jellybean Bryant, he was a very good basketball player. He played for the San Diego Clippers, and one of the teams he played for. Back in the day before they made the horrible decision to leave our city and go to Los Angeles. So Kobe Bryant in the 1996 draft was picked 13th. That means 12 teams said, nah, not interested. And they picked some other players. And obviously he was, one of the best picks ever. And okay, get this. The Charlotte Hornets of all teams, they were the ones that picked Kobe Bryant. And then for some crazy reason, they traded him to Los Angeles Lakers. Do you guys know who they got in return? Vlade Divac. Good job. Let's see, obviously, an amazing basketball player. He ended up retiring and, he was doing a lot, post-retirement. And he had 3 daughters, and he was like very involved with his girls and active and all that great stuff, right? And you know the story, on January 26, 2020. So we're a little over 3 years ago. So he was, he was in a helicopter, crashed. Everyone died, him and including Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi. God, short for Gianna. Anyway, obviously, a very, very sad day and all that, right? Now, how this lawsuit comes about and how we're going to get here, and the settlement was $28,500,000 that the county of Los Angeles has to cough up to Kobe Bryant's family, all right? And just some basics here is that during the crash, it was kind of, it got out that Kobe Bryant died, And then even the media, TMZ, they were like driving over there, and the sheriff started like blocking roads so that people couldn't get close. And then some media outlets were like doing aerial, like from like a helicopter or drone or whatever. They're trying to get pictures of what happened, and they got some, especially the days after, when they were like when the crews were there trying to not clean up, but trying to investigate and take the debris, and after the bodies were removed. So there's a lot of pictures of it. But the key pictures, okay, the ones in question here goes like this. There were some Los Angeles sheriffs and firefighters, okay, who had their own little pictures on their, from their cell phone, okay? So they took some pictures of the late Kobe Bryant, and it was like a trophy or something interesting or whatever, that they have these pictures. And the short version is that among the department and, the buddies and stuff, they were kind of sharing, oh, check this out. They were sharing the picture among themselves. And then, here's the testimony. There was witnesses during the trial included, there was one deputy that showed images from the scene to two people at a bar. Like one of the guys was at a bar, like a Baja California bar or something called like that. And he's like, hey, check this out, to like random people, like a couple of random people. That's how it all came out, because one of those persons were so upset to see the pictures that he sent a complaint to the sheriff's department. And that's how everything started. Okay, there was one fire official who showed the images to other firefighters during an award ceremony at cocktail hour. So during they were like, hey, check this out. Another deputy shared the photos while playing a video game. Okay, like he was at some. Did anyone ever go to an arcade nowadays? Is it an arcade? Yeah, okay. And then one person, there was an allegation that one of the firefighters airdropped the photo to another firefighter, like from their personal phones. And then one firefighter had that was suspected to have these photos, had a deleted hard drive. So, it was kind of, it was sus that his hard drive was deleted. Now comes the lawsuit. Okay, so then Vanessa Bryant files this lawsuit saying that these photos were damaging to her and upsetting to her, right? And that she files the lawsuit in September 17, 2020. So that is only about 8 months after the crash. Okay, so she files that lawsuit 8 months after the crash. And the first order of business, jurisdiction. Okay. She filed the lawsuit in Los Angeles in the state court against the county of Los Angeles. Now, and she filed it for, things like negligence and a breach of her constitutional rights, the 14th Amendment right to privacy. So she filed it in the state court. This is the kind of shocking part to me, is this. I would think that a part of it is they would have wanted to file it in a federal court because they're suing. You're allowed, if you sue the state, and any city is considered part of the state, right? So if you're suing a city, to sue them in the federal court if there's a federal question. And here there is, which is, did they violate her federal constitutional rights? Okay. But they chose to sue in the state court. What the county of Los Angeles did, and I'm shocked kind of, that the county insisted on removing it from the state court to the federal court. So now it's weird. The county wants the lawsuit to go out of the county courthouse and to the federal courthouse. Why would they do that? Okay. The only reason would be there's a procedural issue that is better in federal court for defendants. And that is this. In California state court, to get an award in a civil case, you just need like 9, sometimes 10 out of 12 jurors to agree with you, and to agree on a number. Whereas in federal court, all 12 have to agree. Okay, so there's that procedural issue that is a little better for the defendants in a federal court. Okay, I don't know of any other benefit that why they would do that. So they removed it to the federal court. The federal court accepted. Okay, and now we have a case in the federal court. The trial ultimately took 11 days. That one is shocking to me. Why would it take 11 days? And mind you, we are not going over, did the pilot make mistakes? Did the air traffic control make mistakes? Was the helicopter not built correctly? Whatever. None of that. We're not even going over who's at fault for for killing Kobe Bryant, right? None of that. We're just going over these photos. And this is why lawyers, similar to basketball analysts, right? You had the best basketball scouts say that these 12 other players in the year 1996 were better than Kobe Bryant, right? And all 12 of them were wrong, all right? Even Michael Jordan was picked third in the draft, okay? So anyway, so the same applies with lawyers, because a lot of lawyers, myself included, and obviously the lawyers, and they had dozens of lawyers and law firms that represented Los Angeles County. They did not think that this case is worth millions of dollars, because come on, it's, from their standpoint, it's like, okay, what happened was these photos never got out, like these particular photos. They were never on the internet. If you saw photos on the internet, that's from, media. Okay. And the media pictures are not like close up. They're not, here is the dead body and here's exactly how it looks. Okay. So, the photos never got out. What happened was the sheriff's department, once they found out about this, they brought the sheriffs in and had a talking to, and everyone deleted the photos, and they never got out. They never got on the internet. They never got anywhere. Okay. So Vanessa Bryant's claim is only that she was upset that the photos were shared with people that never disseminated it like completely publicly. It's the word public is kind of weird, because Vanessa Bryant's lawyer said, once you share it with one person who's not in the police force for this kind of gossipy reasoning, you just shared it with the public. Okay. Hey, who am I to say otherwise? The jury agreed with it. Okay. So she was just so upset, right, that these photos were taken, and that possibly one day that they will come out. And theoretically, right, to this day, we don't know where the photos are. It's, like that missing hard drive, or somebody, maybe he emailed it to himself, or he saved it on one phone, he sent it to another phone and saved it on that phone. Like, we don't know, right? So to this day, it could come out, all right, these photos. So, some of the interesting things in the federal lawsuit. By the way, in September of that same year, the California enacted a law. It's called the Kobe Bryant law, which says that if police ever do this again, it's a criminal act. If they share, photos, of dead bodies for anything other than like an official police business, like police records, or sharing it with a doctor or a forensics analyst or whatever. If it's for this gossipy reasoning, it's a violation of the penal code. All right. But get this. Okay. So some of the lawsuit then it was removed in March 2021. So it started in the federal court, and it took a year and a half before it got to trial. And it was a very litigious year and a half. One of the motions that the Kobe Bryant's wife's lawyers had to file. All right, notice a motion, and they had to file plaintiff's motion, compliance with subpoena for cell phone records. Okay, what they did, and I'll save you a lot of I could have a whole episode just on that motion. And what it is they asked the sheriff. They said, we want these particular sheriffs and firefighters' cell phones. We want the actual physical cell phones. And that way, we could have our computer tech analysts look at them and get all the pictures and all that jazz, right? So that was the discovery. That's what they wanted, right? Because they got to prove that all this happened. So it's kind of weird that they don't want the pictures to get out, and they're upset that pictures were shared, right? Now it's kind of like a weird irony. Now they want to get the pictures, and they want them shared this way to see what they are and where were they? Okay, which kind of increases the chances that somehow it'll get leaked. But And then this is the crazy part. They weren't getting it. Like they weren't getting any of these pictures. They weren't getting cell phones that had these pictures, right? So they had to fight and file extra motions to get them. Now, why am I going through all of this? It just shows that it was all kept pretty secret. I think it's pretty clear what happened is these jerks kind of took these pictures and they were sharing it. And once it became clear that this was going on, they all deleted it or they, whatever, they hid it somewhere and they stopped. And then somehow, luckily, it didn't all get out, right? But anyway, it was just kind of crazy that they had to do extra work to try to find what they didn't want to get out. All right. Okay. So, let sleeping dogs lie. That's what I was trying to think of. They didn't let sleeping dogs lie. All right. One of the funny emotions. This was I get a kick out of this. Get this. At one point, they wanted to file a motion. Okay, and to file the motion, there was there's certain like paperwork that has to be filed when you file a motion, and this was for some other issue, like in the case, like a discovery issue. And then in some motions in the federal court, there are page limits. Okay, and in this particular one, they want to file a motion, and in one of the many documents, okay, it's called the Memorandum of Points and Authorities. And then in one of those documents, there's a 5-page limit. All right, 5 pages. The lawyers for Vanessa Bryant wanted to file a document that was 12 pages, which is more than 5 pages, right? So, God, I love legal work. They had to file a motion so that in the other motion, they could get the page limit increased. You with me? So that was a whole motion, and there was a whole hearing, and there had to be like, why do you need those extra pages? And the different lawyers are arguing it and writing declarations like, I really need those 7 extra pages, Your Honor. Otherwise, I don't know what's gonna happen. Dude, this reminds me one time, this was a long time ago. I remember like I was fighting something, like I needed a case, like we were about to go to trial and we needed an extra witness and he was out of the country or something. So we needed the trial continued, and I filed a motion to get the trial continued. The other party, the other lawyer opposed it. And I remember I went to the hearing and then I won. And then I just remember being home and saying, oh yeah, cool. My wife asked like, how did it go? I'm like, yeah, we won. And she said, oh, Rad, you won the whole case? And I'm like, wait a minute, let's not get carried away. The whole case, are you freaking crazy? That part I have to say it quietly, like to myself. Are you crazy? Because no, we didn't win the whole case. All we won was a motion to have the case continued. But it's really funny because that whole thing was like a mini trial to get it done. Okay, now let's go back to the case. All right. Now, finally, we have a trial in this case, and it was in August of 2022, all right? And it was an 11-day trial going over like what they did, and Vanessa Bryant had to testify about how, painful this was for her. And there was there was a father who lost his wife and child in the crash, and he also filed a lawsuit, so there was more than one plaintiff here. That person testified, the county testified. They had psychology experts testifying about the effect that, the fact that, her, Kobe Bryant died, and then her little girl died. And now all of a sudden there's these photos, and that's going to make a devastating situation more devastating. Okay. The jury awarded Vanessa Bryant in August 2022 $15 million. And that $15 million was to compensate her for not her husband's death, not the plane crash or the helicopter crash, but just to compensate her for the fact that sheriffs were showing these photos that never got out. Okay. And that what did get out is that they did that. All right. This is where I was saying about a lot of experts. If you would have asked me a long time ago, I don't think I would have said that a jury would give $15 million for the emotional suffering for having those photos shared, because it's like, I think a jury would have said, you know what, like the real hurt was not the photos, damn it. It was what happened, not that the photos were shared. So I think I would have estimated that it would have been a lot lower. Obviously the Los Angeles County lawyers, would have done the same thing. Now, after August 2022, the lawyers for the county wanted to look at their options, and their options were to appeal the case. They had options, to try to get the judge to reduce that award, okay, and what, those type of things, right? And then Vanessa Bryant has the option to appeal, saying that the jury cheated her and awarded her too little. Okay, or if some other motions were done in between that should have been ruled otherwise. So Vanessa Bryant could appeal. There's one thing that ordinarily, or it was in this case, if you have a breach of the federal constitutional rights, then you have the opportunity to seek attorney fees. So she could have maybe asked for attorney fees. I don't know. Maybe that could have been like whatever. Maybe the judge would have awarded her like $500,000 or $1 million for attorney fees. So she could have asked for more. Now, what happened from August 2022 to February 2023? So what is that? About 8 months. All the parties were looking at their various options of appeal. And requests for more money from Vanessa Bryant to, or requests to have the judge reduce it. Sometimes you could do that. You could have a judge reduce what the jury said. Okay. What they agreed on was to give Vanessa Bryant an additional $13.5 million because the county was so scared that the judge would have given her a lot more money. And there was like a couple of issues that, the federal court said, we will address, the constitutional issues. And if some of these like state breaches of law, go, because California has its own constitution, go back to the state court for those issues. We'll just handle the other issue, so the county was so nervous that they would lose the appeal. And that a judge or an appellate judge, or maybe if it does go back to state court for the other issues, would give her so much more money that instead of taking that risk, they agreed to pay the $15 million. They agreed not to appeal it. And they agreed to give her another $13.5 million, totaling $28.5 million. Wow, that is a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I am shocked. I have a feeling, I was discussing it with a bunch of other people before today, and I just have this feeling like if this would have happened to somebody other than Kobe Bryant, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if a jury would have done this. I mean, the jury in Los Angeles, I'll tell you one thing, that people in Los Angeles, they love the Lakers and they love Kobe Bryant, So I don't know. If it was someone else, I don't think they would have gotten this much money. If it was freaking pictures of Joe Samo, I'd been like, who cares? No, I won't say that, but you know what I'm saying. All right. Well, I would love to know what you think. All right. And as always, my friends, thanks for sharing your news and comments. I got a bunch of comments over the week and I loved all of them. God bless you all.